Hello, this is Cheryl, and I'm so grateful you're joining me today. Trust that this safe and loving space is exactly where you are meant to be, to ignite your higher self and empower you in this very moment in time. There are no coincidences, so trust the nudges that call to you. As I open, channel, and share today's light filled conversation, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. We are all working to uncover the truths that will serve us on our unique journeys. Each new day brings discovery, and this truth is always empowering, illuminating, and available to us. Now is your moment to deepen your spiritual connection. If it's light, it's right. Hello and welcome. Welcome to today's episode. I'm going to talk about an event called a near-death experience. And how I chose to kind of present this to in this podcast episode is really talking about it in a very direct manner, in a very almost spiritually concrete. Here are the facts of, and certainly facts. When I say facts, I mean I'm going to explain it in a straightforward way, but certainly there's never a one size fits all. And for my share today, I want to share an experience during a reading of a near-death experience that came through. And it's a very interesting share, and also one that supports the reasons why near-death experiences occur. And and what purpose they provide us with. And sometimes it's individual, and sometimes it's community, or it's. And when I say that, I mean collectively in the hearts, in the stirring of those around us. So when I talk about a near-death experience, I have to talk also about it. This is a difficult topic for everyone to digest. They don't believe in that, and or they fear it so deeply, and it seems fantastical. And how could that be? In all those aspects, and that is a very real view for many people in the human race, or our public, or however you want to piece it. But I have to say there are elements to a near-death experience that offer themselves that proof that sometimes we need, and I'm going to talk about that too. There are some pieces that are showing proof of um, near-death experience if you can lean in at all. And again, some just dismiss it. No, 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 no. It doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. It's in imagination. It's in dream state. Okay. Again, no judgment. No judgment. I have to also just remind you that our bodies, half physical and half energy, because I want to talk about the energy body. The energy body is a big focal point for today's episode. And so that energy body and astral travel. Astral travel is a big is the biggest focal point for the near death experience in terms of action or movement. And if you want a deeper understanding of astral travel, it's in episode 43. So if you want to kind of look back at that after or before this episode, it does explain a little bit deeper. But I'm going to go under the notion that I'm going to just summarize astral travel. It's happy travel. Astral travel is our happy travel. It's our energy release. It's when we leave the physical body and we're all energy. We're just all energy. It's refreshing. It's healing. It's comfort. We're out of this vehicle of earth, of heaviness. We go places. We visit loved ones on the other side. We go to past lives. We visit guides. We do it weekly. Sometimes more, sometimes less. And you're probably saying, well, I don't ever remember astral traveling. And I agree. You have to be invested to want to feel astral travel. It is a place that we go to when we're in our deepest of sleep. And so that is why you don't know about it, because your conscious mind, your human mind, is out in snooze land, right? It is not functioning humanly, and that is when the spirit can travel and we become all energy. We're always connected, so we always know our way back, if you had that question. And it is again our happy travel. It's the deepest place our conscious mind doesn't remember, and it's floating. So if you ever in the midst of a dream state and you just say, "I'm just floating," that truly may be your astral traveling when you just kind of wake up in the midst of it. And so be open to that, because that really is how the human body feels when caught in the astral traveling. You truly are floating, and it is a big. Again, it is the main part of a near-death experience. It is a true experience. And so, how and when does a near-death experience occur? Generally speaking, and please know these are just general spiritual guidelines or statements of fact. It generally happens in a medical event or in a traumatic event. It's usually a very quick event. And there's reasons for that. And I'm going to get to those in a second. So maybe a devastating accident, during surgery, in some kind of hospital environment, where your vitals cease or signs that they're ceasing. And that is a big earmark for a near-death experience. And let me just go there with you. Again, not one size fits all. And there's a proof. So if it happens in a medical facility, you have the proof of from others to see and feel and hear, this person at this time was not their body wasn't functioning, or there's no way that they were going to come back. There lies the proof, the vital signs, the people that witnessed it. And so when that happens, astral travel can begin. So just stay with me for a second. So the vital signs cease. And astral travel can happen before that happens, but the parts are related because of the proof in our human minds that that we can establish once we return back to our bodies. And so the astral travel begins. So our spirit moves out of the body and it begins that travel. And the energy body leaves the physical, but we're no longer asleep or unconscious or in a coma. We're very conscious. Our human brain is open. It's in between two realms. It's in between two planes of existence, and it is purposeful. It is purposeful. And I just need you to kind of recall that you can't have a near-death experience and not come back, because you're coming back to explain this occurrence. And how you explain it is to show the proof. So that's why generally it's a hospital environment, because many people would not believe you, right? And know that there's no pain, even if it's a really horrific trauma or an accident. There's no pain. You feel no pain. There's no sense of fear. There's no sense of, there's generally a sense of complete peacefulness. Your brain is awake though, so there is maybe some confusion or wondering what's going on. Again, you feel floating and you're traveling, and your senses are magnified. So you're seeing things that are I have never had a near-death experience, so I'm just going with what spirit tells me and what I've seen and heard in readings. But your senses are magnified. So the hearing, you can hear the bells if you're in a medical environment. You can hear people talking. You can recite what people are saying. You can see what they were working on because you could see your body. That's in that kind of scenario. So you are fully awake with your energy body. That energy body is in astral travel. It has left the physicalness of self. And there are different near-death scenarios. Some in different places, but some experience where they stay with the body and they just hover and they see it, like in a hospital setting or another setting. They're just watching the body, watching themselves and what's being done at that time. Some travel to a lighter source or a light source. Maybe they see a tunnel. It has a heavenly feel. Maybe they just see light. They move, and sometimes they combine, right? They leave the body and they feel that energy is being propelled towards light. But in that environment, they're not feeling scared. They feel peace and love that is flowing. Um, and generally, they want to move towards the light. They want to move deeper and go home, because when our energy bodies are awake to being energy, that is where our ultimate comfort and peace and eternity is found. And sometimes we hear voices, or we hear loved ones, or we hear thoughts telling us that we need to go back, that our work is not done, or it's not our time, or um, aspects of love, though, aspects, or the person that's experiencing this event knows, I can't stay here. I have to go back. I have to go back. So those scenarios are going back, or the body begins to refresh and work, and then the energy moves back into the body. But again, all near-death experiences come back to the earthly plane because they didn't choose to move to heaven. And that's why, and I can use that word all, because if they chose to move to heaven, they would not be present in the physical form. They would have continued that journey to the other side. But for reasons of purposefulness, and that is a big aspect of today's episode as well, is this purposefulness. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens with true and deep purposefulness. And that's what I'm going to move into when I begin my sharing as well. So when we come back, I'm going to just talk about why we have near-death experiences. I'll be right back. So I know, I shouldn't say we, I know that near-death experiences are authentic spiritual occurrences. I know that. It is in my faith. It's in what I've been told. It is what I see. But why? Why would someone choose that? That might be a question that you have right to yourself. Like, why would I ever choose that? Why do they occur? I don't understand the meaning behind such purposefulness. And there are a variety. Again, I always say you can't earmark just one piece. It is just ever unfolding. And I will say, it doesn't just happen. We choose it to happen. Our spirits accept it. Sometimes it's even chosen before we even incarnate. It is a choice that we want to experience, or we want to have share with others. So sometimes, and sometimes it's even incarnated as part of our original blueprint, I call it, because as we incarnate, we manifest changes, and we accept changes, and always in for our spiritual path and growth. But sometimes we choose it from the other side, right from the get-go. And sometimes we kind of work it as we move along, and sometimes it's part of a checkpoint too. And am I going, or am I staying? And certainly, as I just talked about, is if I chose to move to the other side, I wouldn't share anything, because I wouldn't come back to the earth's plane and be able to talk about my experience, and the things that I saw and felt, and again, and not trying to prove to the public, maybe sometimes, but that it happened. And in the case of the share I'm going to talk about too, is he didn't understand that he was in a near-death experience. He didn't understand it, but now he understands how and why that happened, and how divine it was. and how beautifully divine it was. So when we choose a near-death experience, sometimes certainly it's not our time yet. And here are a few kind of general explanations. We need a wake up call. We need a wake up aspect, either ourselves in our journey or sometimes our loved ones. We give those blessings, sacrifices, to help others as well, in a smaller fashion. So then we need to stop and reflect on our lives. Maybe we think about, all I do is think about money, so I need to grow and nurture relationships that's been failing to me, and money isn't everything. I want time. I want, this is meaningful to me. That time is a gift. And this, again, may be for you or for a loved one or for both, for spiritual growth. And it opens your spiritual side, and you remember home, and you remember why you come. That experience is so divine, and sometimes so difficult to put into words. And I say that often as well, as it's hard to translate spirit into human words. And um, because there are no words to support that. And that is how a near-death experience is felt. It is beyond words, to capture the love and serenity that you feel when you're in that scenario. Um, that and that being part of, um, I say proof. We don't ever have to prove anything to anyone, but it is part of the journey. A near-death experience is something that a human in physical form needs to work with, right? Because people will question that. They will, eye roll you. They will, have their own opinions of that. And you know what your experience was. And sometimes people don't want you to share that. They don't want you to deliver your spiritualness to them. They are not ready for that, and or they're asleep. And that is beautiful and fine. And that is another reason why sometimes near-death experiences occur. I was watching a show one time, and it was about a doctor, and I don't recall the specifics about it, but she herself, in a medical scenario, had a near-death experience. So her astral travel and her brain was also taking in all the medical pieces that she was like kind of downloading. So when she chose to come back and return back to her body, had such not only evidence as a human, but she had been forever changed. That, um, I remember her saying too that she had clients or people that had that experience, and she was not a believer, or thought that, maybe they were dreaming that, but now she was a true believer. And so when she gave her explanation and she gave her experience, it was with crisp detail. And it was to a point that anybody that was curious about if that was a true occurrence has to lean into it, because the way that she presented itself, you can't help but not be open to it. And again, our collective hearts all know that this is not the only realm of existence. We are all from the other side that I call home. We're all there. So when your heart is open, we all kind of lean in, and some of us remember fully, like myself. I've always fully believed in that experience, but even just a curiosity or that understanding, well, maybe I'm not on team yes or team no. Okay. Again, no rules, and we're all in different places in our spiritual growth here. And our spiritual understanding, when our human side is standing so tall. So evidence and precision of the retell, that she gave without the physical explanation, because remember, I don't recall specifically, but she was physically in a coma, or her vital signs had ceased, whatever that was, that her evidence was irrefutable, at least from a medical standpoint and from concreteness. Now, not everybody will still lean in even with that, but her story was just um, so detailed and so laid out, and even laid out with her. I didn't believe it. I was not a believer, and just her spiritual side, and how she's changed her life, and how she chose or was chosen. I did hear that when I went in for some um guidance on that. She was chosen, and her being a medical doctor was the reason. She was going to help others understand that the other side exists and find that spirituality. Lean in. That's where we find our peace in this lifetime. That is where we can continue the journey. And again, everybody that goes through a near death experience comes out the other side forever changed, making life, or thinking about life, making it more meaningful for themselves and or others, to slow down, because life, we go so fast in our life, and that's not part of path, to kind of stop and smell the roses and along the way, for sometimes yourself, sometimes a strong relationship, a loved one, and sometimes, in this case, in this doctor's share, for a country, for a world, right? To have everybody see, if they choose to see or open, that this is not really a mystery, that this really does exist. She explained it to a place where my heart picked that up, or I became more curious about it. Became more curious about it. So I'm going to come and talk to you about that share I talked to you about a man and his experience and how it was explained through spirit. I'll be right back. So, as I talked about, no two near death experience look alike, have the same characteristics. Again, they are unique spiritual circumstances based on our path, our lessons, how this will play out, right? It's nothing is unique. So let me tell you about a man that I did a reading for, um and he was told, he never named it a near death experience, but his soul chose it, and spirit brought it forward for more understanding about his path. So, this share and this experience is very much um, about him, but what he shares along the way brings, um, it helps others to find their light, and to see that. The change is a beautiful change that it brought upon him as well. So Bob came, when he came to the reading, he had fear. I felt fear as soon as he entered the room. And he even teared up before we even began. So that, he said, was fear. I'm fearing what's going to be said here, because my life is a mess, or and I'm working on a lot of things, and I don't want to. I fear I have failed, and I'm A, B, and C. So that's where he began. But again, the spirit knows, and his spirit knows, and the spirit world knows what he's coming for. So he felt that he was off his path, and that there would be some judgment in some way during the reading. Again, light never brings judgment. So always know that when you go for readings, that light does not bring judgment. So if you feel judgment, and disregard that message. So receive judgment in any. He felt that he would receive some judgment, and what he received was more light and understanding that will support him on his ongoing winding journey. He's not done. He is not done. He has more to conquer in his life. So Bob began with a really troubled upbringing, difficult for many reasons, and leading to and karmically moving into alcohol, challenge at a very early age that brought upon more insidious and destructive behavior to most of his adult life. It was just that was the pinnacle, and it was karmic. Spirit did end up uncovering that that was a karmic piece that he knew he would be coming into. And so he spoke very briefly about his alcohol consumption, and he had a very dire time, and it brought him into a coma. And he brought that into the reading, and he goes, I went into a coma." And then the reading, excuse me, then opened up, and his beloved grandmother came from the other side, and she just came with a bubble of love, and he was just so happy, and there was a relief to him that she was the one who's coming through, because he said, "She was the only person in my life that never judged me, that always loved me and gave me love, and, never judged my actions, no matter how bad they were." And again, she was that person to open up and talk about where he was, where he came from, and to give light to his journey that he had never felt light with. He was never, and a lot of that, he very responsibly said, "It was alcohol. It has ruined my life. It has brought me to places." And that he said, "I should be dead. I should be dead." And at that very time, the grandmother brought forth, she brought forth other evidence too, but I said, did you almost hit your head at that time?" And he said, "Yes, that's why I should be dead." Because when he passed out and then went into a coma, when he passed out, he very narrowly missed the corner of a table. And he says with his own words that that would have taken my life, the way I would have hit. And I missed that table. And then he went into a coma. And then he said that when he was in the coma, he would not he would not define it as an out-of-body experience, a near-death experience. He described it almost, like it was like such a weird thing, and I don't know why it happened. And so grandmother and I came to talk to him, and he goes, I saw myself lying there. I saw people talking. I knew what they were saying. I could actually see myself lying there." And he said it in a manner that tried to convince me. And I said, "You're preaching to the choir, Bob, because not only do I feel it, but grandmother is adding to that when he's saying that." And he said that he did not hear loved ones talking or telling him he needed to go back. That wasn't his experience, or feeling that he should go back, but rather just being awakened with his body laying still. Not fearful. He did say that. He goes, "I wasn't fearful. I wasn't scared. I was just kind of like," he uses his human words, "I was like in shock. I'm like, what the heck is going on?" And so his grandmother really underscored that experience to tell him it was his spirit's choice to go into the coma. And that evidence of missing that table narrowly, and how she channeled that, he didn't say that she channeled that, and he said, "I should be dead," was his proof to himself that there's a reason I'm here. Like, I should be dead. I should be dead. I shouldn't be here. And the channel and the reading further went into, because she said, "After the coma," I said, you are working on your sobriety." He goes, "I am." He said, "I am," I think he was 6 months sober at the time. And I go, "And that was concurrent to your coma?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "And that was not a mistake. That was purposefulness, that your spirit asked for the coma, the universe gives you two, and that missing that table narrowly in your human brain saying, "I shouldn't be here. That should have taken me out." That gives him the reason why I'm here. And grandma further went on to say, again, underscored his karmic, underscored that heavy coat and the lessons that were deeply embedded in him and arriving this journey, and others free will, but that he's strong, that his spirit is strong, and he came into this lifetime working to rid that karmic junk, and that coma and that near-death experience was his spiritual mule kick, right? Kick in the pants saying, get your act together. And he felt it. He felt it. And when grandmother brought that to him, his heart just beautifully exploded with ease, with understanding, with love, that I'm here for a reason. I'm here because I gotta move past this crap. I am not supposed to die and leave this karmic residue heavier. I'm coming to live. I gifted myself this. It wasn't prior to the reading, he felt as though he was being punished, being punished for the things he didn't do so well. And grandma's going, no, darling, you gifted this to yourself to live and to be heard and to be seen and to find peace. And I wish, I hope that you feel how he felt. He just exhaled. And he fully understood with his heart his grandmother's love and guidance. And he cried tears of joy and not fear this time. He understood why he gifted himself this experience. Near-death experiences are profound spiritual events. They're never accidental and always guided by a higher purpose. Astral travel, with its beautiful weightlessness, sensation of flight, often threads through these moments. So vivid and real, it stirs the conscious mind to awaken. And many return with clear memories of floating above, witnessing their own body being cared for by medical teams, or simply observing from a place of deep, peaceful awareness. A powerful reminder that the spirit lives beyond the physical form. These experiences are never random. They are deeply purposeful, meant either to awaken our own soul's journey or to gently inspire others to remember the beautiful existence our hearts know is home. Our spirits carry the quiet knowing of why we came here, to learn, to experience, and at times to share, so that others too may grow. Those who walk this extraordinary path are forever changed, becoming messengers for any who are willing to listen, stirring wonder, awakening curiosity, and shining a light toward the home we all come from and one day will return to. All who journey to the edge of the sacred life return carrying a gift to live better, to learn more, and to share more. We are all deeply connected. And when such extraordinary events are spoken into the world, we lean in together, listening with the ears of the heart. Deep within, our hearts recognize all truths, and they remember what our minds sometimes forget. We move together on this sacred journey, growing, awakening, and becoming more. If it's light, it's right. Wishing you a beautiful day. Thank you for allowing me to accompany you on your journey today. There's so much for us to explore and learn together. If there's a light-filled topic you're curious about, or if you just want to reach out, I'd love to connect. Follow me on social media at Cheryl Bradley Medium, or visit CherylBradley.com to explore my offerings and events. I hope today's episode has filled you with the light to carry with you until we meet again. And let the title of this podcast stay with you today and every day. If it's light, it's right. Blessings on your journey.